Welcome to episode 220 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my guest this week, Guy Serle's back on the show. How you doing, Guy?
Well, I'm.
It looks like you got a
I'm
cat.
a little distracted. Yeah, a little distracted tonight, but I will soldier on.
Okay, she'll probably give up in a bit, but
yeah, she will.
Maybe not.
She'll get bored with me, like all the women in my life.
And I'm also excited that Kelly Guimont's back on the show. Great to have you, Kelly. How you doing?
Hi, David. I'm doing well. Glad to be here as always. So
Yeah.
I always appreciate you having me back.
Oh, always welcome. And I thought it was quite fitting that we had this thing called an Apple event. This happened actually yesterday as we record this, and it was definitely interesting what we experienced, and we're going to go through it all today. And we'll forego the news, and there'll be lots of news. And it looks like Warren Sklar has now joined us. How you doing, Warren?
Afflicted. I'm okay now. Yeah, my
A little technical
internet went
difficulty.
wacky, and then things got wacky, and everything's good now. So things are on fire behind me, but don't look back there. So it's okay.
I won't. But thanks for being here. Great. Glad you were able to make it.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and just dive right into the show here, because there's a lot to talk about. As I mentioned, the Far Out Apple event occurred yesterday on September 7th as we record this. And like I said, we'll forego the news stories for this week, and there'll be plenty of news to talk about here because there's tons of things here. But before we get to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about beta. iOS 16, the release candidate, no surprise, was released that day yesterday. So it's pretty much near completed, and I decided I'm going to dive right in and put it on my iPhone, and I did. So it is installed on my primary iPhone. And I'm actually noticing some pretty zippy speeds, which I'm pretty happy about. And the Face ID, it seems like the Face ID is working quite well comparatively to the iOS 15. So, so I'm pretty excited about that. And but yeah, they did announce that it's going to come out on September 12th, so it'll be next week as we record. And Warren, being the beta guy, would you concur on the performance of iOS 16?
Yeah, definitely. You can hear me, right?
We can hear you.
Yes. What?
Not at all.
What that woman say? Who's that lady? So the last beta, definitely the release candidate didn't seem that much different than the one before, because the one before it was a zippy one. I think it got kind of zippy there. I did the watch. The one thing I noticed with the watch is the unlock. The watch with the iPhone used to take, it was hit or miss kind of thing, or even took a few tries to open it up. I thought it didn't work, and I'm like, oh crap. And it worked. You don't even see the message anymore.
I did. Can you believe it? Yeah. I did the watch too. So I'm on WatchOS 9 as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't remember how it was in the last iOS release, if it was fast or not. But the betas definitely were challenging at best to unlock your watch with your phone. So that was good. Other than that, I mean, there's a couple of weird things that I've seen. I don't know if you saw, if you have like a parallax picture as your wallpaper. If it's locked and you unlock it, it moves a bit in parallel just as you're unlocking it. It's really kind of neat. At first, I'm like, the thing's moving. So a couple of nifty touches like that. Yeah, no, it's just kind of a neat
Sounds far out.
Yeah,
it was far out.
That's
like,
probably why it did that. Good, nice one.
But other than that, yeah, no, it's you know how they are. They could give us a new one next week.
It's very possible.
This might not be the final. So
very possible.
But it might be. So yeah, it's good. Usually, what I'll do is we'll get to that. I was going to say usually when the full comes out, I wipe it, restore, blah blah blah.
Sure,
we don't we're getting a new phone.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. We shouldn't do that anymore.
Right. Kelly, have you?
Yeah, it's okay, Warren. Absolutely no one other than the entire internet can hear you.
Who can hear you? Right. Kelly, have you been dabbling with? Have you been dabbling with any beta at all?
Just a bit. I have an auxiliary iPad that I've been that I did put the iPad OS beta on.
Yeah.
And not until later, much later. Because you know me and betas. And it was pretty stable and felt like refinement. I didn't see a ton of stuff on iPad OS that's dramatically different or anything like that. So that was sort of nice, actually, just so that it's not going to be super overwhelming. It's more like going to Monterey, from Big Sur to Monterey on Mac OS, like
right.
Refinement, subtle changes. A little bit more than probably like your Snow Leopard Mountain Lion kind of release, but so a little bit of difference here and there, but for the most part, because I came in late, reasonably solid and pretty reliable so far. So I haven't had any complaints.
Good.
I haven't done my watch because like I have every once in a while my watch starts misbehaving on me anyway, and so I don't want to tempt fate and just sort of invite it to freak out on the regular. When
I braved it. It's less than a week, so so we'll see how it goes.
But wouldn't it? I mean, I think a lot of it is probably because you also have, because so much of the watch is controlled by inner connectivity with the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't have the iOS 16 beta on your phone, but you put the beta on your watch,
that doesn't work.
I don't think you could go the other way around. You could have the beta on the phone and the
but not the watch.
RC on the watch, and it will still communicate. But if you flip it, you're done.
Yeah, because you don't have the option on your watch because, like you said, interconnectivity. It doesn't even give you the opportunity to install the iOS 16 beta if you don't have it on.
So essentially, if you
or watch OS 9 if you don't have the 16 on your phone.
So if you don't have the beta on your phone.
So during the beta testing, if you update the watch to the beta, then you're all in. If that's the watch you're going to use, because otherwise, you can't. You could downgrade your phone back, but it won't talk to the watch. So then you got a bricked watch. So you got to be sure, or you have to have two watches.
So Warren, are you getting a new watch? I mean, there's a new thing from Apple. Like, what color?
Hold that thought.
Safety orange, aren't you? Yeah.
No, I'm bummed because this green. It was only a year with this beautiful green, and now it's gone.
I love mine so much. I love the green. I was really worried it wasn't going to look nice with other watch bands or anything, and it's so good.
But mine's going to look terrible next week because it's not going to be green. We'll get to that.
Let's hold that because I want to get your thoughts as we talk about the new watches coming. Real quick, tvOS 16 will be out. That's an release candidate, as well as we just mentioned watch OS 9. And then iOS 15.7 Beta 1 surprisingly was released. I don't know why. Has no description of what it is, but I'm thinking that it's probably the last version for the devices that are end of road on iOS 15. I know it'll be the 6S probably, and any others that were on that can only go to 15.
There's only a couple this time, right?
I think it's the 6S, 6S Plus, and the 7. The 7 is end of road too.
I think the 7
is the last. The 6S won't be supported, is what I thought.
Right.
Won't be supported in 16.
In 16.
Okay, but that's like 5 or 6 years.
Or is it the 7? No, maybe the 7 is the one that's the.
No, the 6S. The 6S is for the 15 for this iOS coming out.
Yes, for 15, but not. Yeah, it won't go to 16.
You're going to lose if you have a 6S. You can't upgrade. Yeah. If you have anything newer, you can.
And the same thing with the 7. That's going to be 15.
Okay, so 5 years.
So 7 is the line. I was trying to remember where the line was, and I couldn't remember if it was 6S or if it was 7. So yeah. So 5 years.
That's in phone terms. That's like
unheard I'm not mad about it. I was just trying to establish. Okay. Yeah, I'm not shaking my fist at it or anything like that. I was just trying to remember where the line was for where that gets drawn. So that's
unheard of. It really is unheard of.
So
iOS 16.
So let's go ahead and move on. Like I said, we've got a lot to cover here. As I said, the Apple event was this week. We were treated to new iPhones, the iPhone 14, the Apple Watch Series 8 with a new SE, and a brand new Apple Watch Ultra. Can't wait to hear what your guys' thoughts are on that. And there's an iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, and there is new AirPods. And they don't want to call it AirPods 2, but it is the second generation. So go figure with Apple here. So let's start with the iPhone. The iPhone 14 was the first one that was announced. And there's two models. There's the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 14 Plus, which I'm very welcomed that they've done that because of the fact that lots of people could not afford to have a Max because the Max was the only model that had the large 6.7 inch screen. Now it's going to be more affordable, so that's huge. It's going to run on the A15 Bionic chip processor, the same as the 13, and they're definitely going to have some things with that. The improved cameras, and they also have the satellite, the SOS, emergency SOS. It's going to be available, which is awesome. So we'll get into some of those details here in a minute. Like I said, the camera is going to be enhanced. We got a true depth camera, which is at a 1.9 f aperture, which is great. So it's pretty awesome. You have a lot of great things with it. The battery life is going to be improved. You have the action mode on the camera. You have the crash detection. That was a big thing that's added on both phones and the watch because it's going to now detect if you're in an auto accident, which is great. So I was pretty pleased with that. Kelly, what was your initial thoughts on the 14? Did you think they did good with this?
I really did, because sort of the headline feature, I think, in all of this is the SATCOM stuff, the emergency SOS, and because that's brand new and very big, and it came to every model, and that was very cool. So I was excited about the fact that they rolled that out to every model. And I'm also really glad that they put out the Plus again, because it used to be, like you were saying, if you want to measure your screen size in acres, your only option was the Pro Max. And most people don't want to pay a Pro Max price just to get screen by the acre. And so I think my theory, as you know, I run a home for Crackpot Theories. My theory is that every year we're gonna alternate. So one year we're gonna get a Plus model, and then the next year we'll get a Mini model. And so we'll get the 15 Mini and the 16 Plus, so that people have an option. And so, because I think they found that a lot of people were holding on to a 6S, the 6S we were talking about a minute ago, because there wasn't, if I didn't get an 8 Plus when the 8 Plus was out, my 6S was only a couple of years old. So if I had a 6S Plus, in 2 years, if I wasn't interested in buying a new phone, there wasn't a new phone for me,
right?
Until very recently. And so I was really glad to see that the headline features all came to every model, because there is a Pro and a Pro Max that we haven't talked about yet. But the big stuff came kind of to everything. Like, we got massive camera improvements all around, not just casual improvements on the regular side and then massive improvements on the Plus side. There's a lot of camera improvement going on. The satellite stuff, the car crash sensors, all those things came to every single model, and I'm really glad to see them doing that. This feels like a real upgrade that's gonna make somebody on a 12, maybe an 11, somebody who's not on a program, maybe consider, the 12 is still really a solid phone, so I can give it to the less demanding person in my family, and I can get something new. And I think I think they need to do that every so often, and sort of shake all those 5S's and 6S pluses out of the woodwork, and get people on newer technology. And I think that's really good. I also liked the complete lack of SIM tray, which is really nice.
We'll talk about that in just a minute here.
I find SIM cards very frustrating when I have to deal with them. So I'm glad they're going away.
Anything else on Guy? Did you see anything with the 14? I know you're not too excited about doing any upgrades from you've told us pre-show. So
well, to me, the fact that it's got better cameras, but they do that every year,
right?
Mm-hmm.
The 13 has the same processor that the 14 has.
Right.
To me, if you're not on a 10 or 10XR or 11, I could not recommend doing the upgrade unless there is something specific in the new feature set, whether it's the Emergency Sos satellite, which that's kind of an edge case I think for most people looking to upgrade to another phone. Crash detection is nice, but is it worth spending? Because I mean, even if you trade your phone in, if you have an 11 or a 12, you're not going to get very much for it. Even with the 13, I think they offered me $300 to $350 for it, and it's a year-old phone, and it's a great phone. Right. Honestly, I just couldn't see the point in going to a new phone. If you have a 13, you've almost have a 14 already. So if you don't want to spend the extra money, well, then save it up for next year when USB connectors will more than likely be, or USB-C connectors instead of Lightning will more than likely be across the board on all the devices. And who knows what else the 15 will have that the 14 or 13 doesn't.
Well, if you have a 13 and you're not on a traded in every October program, then you weren't the people that they were talking to. Warren, they exist. Those are real people.
I do it too. I'm with Warren. I trade in every year too. So,
but like, I don't think anybody with a 13 is. I think maybe if you don't have a square-sided phone, maybe that's who they're gunning for with this. Like I said, they want all those people with a 6S or a 7. And I can rattle off a bunch of those people off the top of my head because they weren't interested in anything newer. And if you have an older Face ID phone, there are a lot of appealing things here for upgrades because you're not just getting the difference between 13 and 14, right? You're getting the difference between, if you have a 10 or a 10R, you're getting the low light of the 11, the night mode of the 11, you're getting the 5G of the 12, you're getting the, all of those other things in between, all of that at once too. So it's a really compelling upgrade, I think, if you don't have a square-sided phone already.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look at, especially because it starts at $799. Right. And that's pretty reasonable. And it's really funny that Apple was the one that sort of burned down the cell provider subsidy relationship. Because they were like, if you want an iPhone, it's $600. If you want it on Verizon, it's $600. And, all of that. And so it was really funny to hear Tim Cook on stage going, we have lots of subsidy options with all of our cell phone providers too. So
let them
so it's just funny how things come and go. And so I'm interested to see, hopefully that will make it more appealing for people as well. If you trade it in and you can get a little bit of money and responsibly recycle the one that you have and get something new and better and awesome, then, good. And I think there's a whole lot to like in this one, particularly if you're getting, an 11 and a 12 and a 13 in the bargain. So,
yeah, absolutely. Warren, do you have any thoughts on the 14 and 14 Plus before we move on to the Pro?
Trade-ins are good. They're aggressive. They're very aggressive. So you'll start seeing tomorrow that if you have a 13, then you'll end up and if it's paid off, you'll end up spending probably less than $200 for one.
Okay. So then they announced the iPhone 14 Pro, 14 Pro, and the 14 Pro Max, 6.1 inch screen and a 6.7 inch screen. Couple notable things is it does have a brand new processor. It's the A16 Bionic, a bit faster. It's going to have an improved Super Retina XDR display, which is about 2 times brighter than that of the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro, and it also has the crash detection we just talked about. Again, we didn't get into too much detail. Let's talk about now is the Emergency Sos via satellite. That's going to be a service that's going to be available for those who are in an emergency situation, be able to make do text messages and be able to get out through satellite in a rural area or an area that isn't served by cell service. It's going to be 2 years that it's going to be included with the iPhone 14 and Pro 14 and 14 Pro. We don't know where they're going to go with that after the 2 years. There was a bit of chatter about that, and we'll review a lot of this other stuff because there's, like I said, so much to talk about today on the next couple shows here because there's definitely some top topics we can focus on. But I just want to get into general what was announced. But that was huge with the Emergency SOS, and I know you guys were pretty excited to hear about that. It does have the crash detection I mentioned for the car as well as you falling, and so just like the watch has had. They did put a ceramic shield on the screen, which was interesting to see on the Pro. That is going to have even better improved protection on the glass. I've never been a big fan of putting on the screen protectors. I know our friend Chuck always does it on his iPhone, but I don't. Do you do as well? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of that, and I've been fine from all the years that I've had iPhones. So
I've broken the screen on one phone.
I broke one too.
I started with
I scratched one once. So
3GS.
that was enough for me to do the stupid shield. And if you get a decent one, then you don't even know it's there.
I don't have my AirPods in all the time. And so occasionally I do have to hold my phone up to the side of my head like a caveman. And I wear diamond earrings. And so at one point in an old phone, on a dumb phone, I have two in each ear, and I wore two little grooves in the screen. And ever since then, I have tried very hard to make sure that doesn't happen. And I will stop putting the tempered glass on. I said this last night on Mac Voices. I will stop putting the tempered glass on my phone when they figure out how to make it so my earrings don't scratch it up, or B, make it so that I can replace the screen for $10, just like I can the tempered screen protector.
So Kelly, the diamonds are the hardest material in the world. So let's be a little fair on that. Mine was like a 6, and I went to the beach, and I don't even remember getting sand on it, but it beat the hell out of it. It beat the hell out of the screen. And just, I didn't barely even know how it happened. So,
sharks.
Of course. Yeah.
Sunspots. I mean, everybody knows that, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully the problem is with their, saying that it's stronger than last year. There's no real way to test it. And no, so I'm going to go with the glass until somebody says, listen, here's me taking my phone, scraping it across this, and nothing's on my phone. Yeah. And at that point, I'll say, maybe, okay, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the all-day battery life, so they've improved the battery even more, and the Max is going to have the best battery life. I mean, the whole year I've had my iPhone forever. Yeah. Ever, right. They said ever when that was announced. The 13 Pro Max was amazing battery life for me. It's already at 97% on me after a year, so which is still not bad. So that's huge. The MagSafe has carried over, so that's a good thing. And the camera is going to be 3. There's 4 zoom options.
Holy God!
Yeah, 0.5, 1, 2, and 3x, which is amazing.
Not even that.
Are those optical or are they digital?
Optical.
They're optical.
Optical.
Yeah.
The Pro Max has 3x optical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so did the last, didn't it? What the current one has?
I think
3X.
it was 2x.
It was only 2x.
The Pro Max is 2x. It'll do digital beyond 2, but 2 optical.
I haven't graduated to 2 yet, so I'll be fine.
Besides that, you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide display, 12 megapixel the front facing camera, which is by far the best, and they've done some amazing things with that. But the main camera is going to be at 48 megapixel. But disclaimer to that is it's going to be with RAW, with Apple RAW. That's the only way you're really going to get the
Pro RAW.
The Pro RAW, excuse me.
RAW.
Yeah. And the photonic engine was the putting the 4 photos together to get the best of those images. So they've done some great things with that.
If you're going to use all that, you better have the 512.
Yes, if you're going to be really getting serious,
512 gig option.
I'm not that serious of a photographer enough that I can justify. I'm going to be at 256. I was on this 13, but I also have a lot of iCloud storage, so that's going to help me a ton too. So. Yeah. And then you have a 16.
And real fast, if you have Optimize on your phone turned on for photos, it will upload the full 4K to your iCloud.
Right.
and store it there. And I think it won't stay on your phone if I don't think it stays there unless you call it back up. So,
right.
Just a thought.
So, you got 4 new colors. I know we don't have green. We do have the deep purple, which I have opted to go with that. I'll talk about
which is yet another purple.
I know.
Yet another blue.
Yeah, there's all kinds of colors. I know. Go ahead. I know you've talked about this yesterday. What's the colors? Man. Yeah, what's going on with the colors?
Why don't they coordinate with anything? Like, no. I understand that I am not a fashionista by any stretch of the imagination. But like, could you not have a blue this year that is at least on palette with the blue from last year? I mean, honestly, like if I buy a brand new phone right now and I go get that M2 MacBook that is also blue, they're not going to match. Neither of those is going to match last year's blue or the previous year's blue or the one before that. Like, it's really, really irritating that a company known for like style and interest, being able to do something like this. Interestingly, like purple's never the same. This year's, and then the color names get dumber every year, which I also find really irritating.
Deep
like
purple.
not one of these shades has either been called deep purple or purple rain, and it's a travesty that it's not either one of those. It's just, I mean, it gets more and more ludicrous every year, I feel like, because like, now we have to call it Starlight. Like, what was wrong with silver?
Silver,
you couldn't call it a black phone and a white phone and now we have to have Starlight and Moonlight. Like, come on. Like, I know not all of you live in Portland, and I don't know where this crap is coming from. That's what I'm saying.
Marvel movie.
It's not even Marvel movie. And it's ridiculous. And like,
the boys, the Starlight's from the boys. Moonlight's for Marvel.
Yeah.
So,
well,
that's where they're all coming from.
But it's just every year. It's always the dilemma.
But it's dumb because
Forrest Green was not a very well-known superhero, but he was.
Yeah, Isn't it like Midnight Green or something?
Midnight. Yeah, he
was
dumb
at one point. I mean, yeah.
Midnight Green was. I think he was Green Lantern.
Didn't he? Yeah, wasn't his car powered by the photonic engine or something?
It was powered by.
And they all lived on Dynamic Island. Take it away, David.
Thank you for that transition. I saved the best for last. Dynamic Island. I was blown away of knowing this feature. No one knew that this was going to happen. What they did was the notch exists on the other iPhones, but it does not exist on the Pros. Well, what they did was they put the notch behind the glass instead. So all the lens and anything that was in the notch is now behind the glass. And now they've introduced this thing called Dynamic Island. It's a notch that actually is digital that goes over that, and it's an actual combination of hardware and software that works in such a way where it allows you to adapt. When a phone call comes up, it pops up and you tap it and it comes up. And and when there's a baseball score, if you have a feed from MLB, that shows up and it's there. If you have a timer, the timer shows up in that and you tap it. And so even when the Face ID comes on, it pops from there and does it. And it's very short when the reviews, and obviously we'll give a extensive review once we get these phones in our hands. But it's incredible. I mean, with maps and with music and with a timer, and there's just everything will be in that little dynamic island to get to it. And I'm going. So go ahead, guys. I would like to hear what your thoughts on this.
I really like that feature. Yeah. If I was going to get a 14, it would be the Pro for that feature alone. But what I thought was really cool about it is if you think back to when the notch first came out, people were just lost their minds. It was like, well, we're giving up a screen really straight. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay. And Apple was like, okay, we're going to take something that the internet, not most of their users, but the internet completely lost their minds over. And we're going to turn it into a positive. We're going to take something that everybody hated and basically say, okay, well, it's going to change sizes. Sometimes you'll see it. Sometimes it'll barely be there. But when you do see it, it's going to be useful. It's going to be a launch pad for notifications. It's going to be a launch pad for telephone calls, for all of these things that you're interacting with your phone with, that in the past basically was like all over the place. on your phone. It could pop up from almost anywhere. And now it's all going to be that top center part of your screen, and how big it's going to be is going to depend on what kind of notification that it is.
I can't wait.
That was like super cool. It's still not worth it for me to spend $1,200 on a new phone to get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to whenever it is I buy my next phone that I'll have the dynamic island. Almost sounds like a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of fun with the different names. Yeah.
Andrew Orr last night on Mac Voices said Dynamic Island is the new album from Photonic Engine. I can't stop giggling about it now. Great. I remember that. Like even today, I'm still giggling about it. I am cautiously optimistic about The Lonely Island because I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
But it's going to be cool for me. I can see very small things and I have little fingers, so I can interact with very small things that are on my screen. The first thing I thought when I saw this was, your Face ID camera is right here, and we're going to give you all these things to tap on right in front of the Face ID camera and cover that thing with fingerprints. And I'm like, that just seems, first of all, that seems really ill-advised, number one. Because I know sometimes mine has trouble, and I don't touch the notch on my phone all the time. But like if I hold it to my ear or something, like, I have to, put it in my pocket, or I pick it up and I pick it up upside down and I've got the wrong end or something, I've got fingerprints all over it. So I'm concerned about it for two reasons. Number one, the size, because I know not everybody's going to be able to see an MLB score up in that corner. But second of all, because the first person I think of when they keep trotting out Major League Baseball, and I get it, but the first person I always think of is my dad. And like my dad is never going to set that up so that he can see the score up there, because he can't see the score up there. Yeah. He needs it to be much bigger for him. So the other thing that sort of makes me worry about this being something, like I see the potential for it being awesome, but the thing that makes me worry that it won't be is that it's not on everything yet. So if you get a 14, like the stuff that Apple does for you is going to be amazing, but I don't know how easy it's going to be for other developers to utilize, because anything that you do in Treasure Island, you're going to have to do another way for people who don't have a 14 Pro, at least for now. And so I think it's going to end up being one of those things like, like Touch Bar or like the Force Touch trackpad, where like not everything had it. So if you build something cool that works with that, you also have to build that thing some other way for people who don't have, now everybody has a Force Touch trackpad, but at least initially, like, not everybody has one. And with the Touch Bar, still not everybody has one. And so, when you have something like this, it's an opportunity to use. How are you going to do whatever it is you want to do? Even if it's easy, like, are you even going to bother? As a developer, that's just another thing for you to have to hassle with, just like another, yet another screen size or yet another, pixel measurement that you have to worry about laying out. And so I'm hoping that it ends up being awesome, that they bring it to everything, that it becomes, that it's something that does dynamically size. Like if you have your phone set to zoom in so that text is a little bit bigger, so it's easier for you to read, that the Lonely Island will do the same thing. Like that's my hope. I don't know. So like on the one hand, yes, Pleasure Island looks like a thing that's going to be super awesome, but I don't think it's there yet.
We'll
I'm never calling it by its actual name ever again. I just want to get that out there for people who think I got it wrong.
Everybody's going to change
I know. I refuse to call it anything else. So
you were talking about your dad, which reminded me of a funny iPhone story. I have a friend at work who frequently calls me with tech questions. He FaceTimes me, but he holds the phone to his ear. So I get this beautiful shot of like all of the hair in his ear, and so it's like, dude, just put the phone in front of your face. I don't want to see the inside of your ear.
There's a commercial where some guy like is calling his adult son, and he's like, "Hi," and he's like, "Dad, hold your phone. Get mom."
Yeah,
it's really funny.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and just go through a few more things, and we're going to move on to the Apple Watch. Of note, we want to talk about the SIM real quick. All iPhone models, iPhone 14 models in the US only is going to be eSIM. So we've got we've had there's a bit of a debate on that. I think some are fine with it and happy with it. I use an eSIM. Others are probably not too excited about it. And I think that this is the time. It's the day and age. Everything is electronic. There's the physical SIM cards are from how long have they been around? 20 years at least.
Forever, and they're frustrating, and the mobile phone providers hassle you if you need to replace one or if you need to get a new one. It's a giant pain in the neck.
They charge you for it.
Yeah, the iPhone 14 will never be a burner phone is what I learned yesterday.
So the cool
There's
thing
issues too.
Yeah, there is issues. I mean, the three top carriers in the U.S., AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon are on board. Apple has added the service to make it very relatively seamless. We'll obviously see what happens in the wild to allow it.
Right.
But
there's other issues too that you're not thinking of with that too. So I mean, one is it traveling to a country that doesn't have an eSIM and their provider doesn't have an eSIM. You can't use your phone, which is going to happen. Because not all companies in all countries have
That's
it.
true. But there are a whole lot of places that do. So, and it just means
not all of them. I mean, even last year I went to Ireland.
I went
everywhere.
to
Ireland. So my son, last year, my son, if he had a 14, he would have to get a new phone. Yeah. Because the provider he had did not have a SIM. eSIM. So the other problem you're going to have too is Dave and I in business, when we send replacement iPhones to somebody, a lot of times you just say, swap the SIM card out because that's a lot easier than getting the digital SIM card moved over. So, So, I mean,
it's going to be interesting to see where it goes.
I'm not saying it's a showstopper. I'm just saying there's going to be a growing pains for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there will be. But I also think that, like, when I switched from a physical SIM to an eSIM on my 12 Pro, it went fine. I needed to be on the phone with them, on the chat with them, and in a lot of instances where I know people have done it, it's been pretty straightforward. So that's been really nice. So overall,
the point is, it's a part of the phone that the rest of the world possibly still uses to put into the phone. That's not going to be there anymore.
They must, or it wouldn't be limited to the U.S.
I think within 2 years it'll be a moot point.
Yeah, it'll be a moot point. Apple did. There is a link in the show notes. I'll make sure that's in there of a support article from Apple giving you a complete list worldwide of eSIM carrier activations support. So you have to make a judgment call if you are somebody that frequently travels overseas outside the United States. Right now, it's just the United States. So if you were to buy an iPhone in any other country, including Canada or Mexico or any other place in the world, you're going to have a physical SIM card slot in the iPhone 14.
Right.
So,
but if you buy it here, you won't out there.
Right. If you buy here, you won't. Right.
Did you see the picture of the Lightning connector to eSIM adapter?
No, I didn't see that.
Put it out there. I'll have to get that.
So be aware of that. I think the one thing is, I believe that the Pro is going to support up to 8 eSIM connections. So you could have up to 8 lines on one phone. I think the Pro Max and the Pro can do that. Whereas the 14 is going to be, try to manage them, right? Only 2 can be activated at a time. So you have the other ones in reserves. I don't know anybody who would be that crazy to have 8 lines on their one phone, but there's crazier people that carry around 3 and 4 phones with them. So
James Bond, maybe.
Exactly. But the same, it'll work the same way. Like I do it now. I have a physical SIM in the slot right now for one extra line and my primary line. Now I'll just transfer that to the eSIM and be done with it. And it can easily be transferred later. T-Mobile is on board with it. So, but like I said, there is a support article about it. So check that out. But that was a bit of a concern. I saw that, and I did kind of predict that because it had been rumored, and I made a prediction that this was going to happen. It is what it is, and we'll see what happens here. I'm just going to jump through a few of these things, and I'll talk about these things in future episodes here. Apple Care is going to be updated to have unlimited repairs, and that's going to go across all devices. That's a new feature. So unlimited repairs, including the instead of having limits, I believe even accidental damage, there's going to be unlimited. You still pay for it, but so they really have expanded on the Apple Care, so that's changed. And a couple features. The Fitness Plus is going to become available to all iPhone users. You don't have to have an Apple Watch. That's coming in the fall. Apple is going to delay the release of iCloud shared photo library feature in iOS 16 with the 14. So that's going to be something that you'll have to we'll talk about. We'll hit this again. So, but let's just talk about the lineup here real quick. Here's what's going to be available. So the line now is going to be the iPhone SE. You have the iPhone 12, just the 12. Everybody, and kind of including our friend Brittany's unhappy there is no 14 mini, but 13 mini will still continue to be sold for $599. It's only going to be one storage option, 128 gigabyte. 13.
That's still an awesome price.
Yeah, it's $100 less. Phone. It's $100 less than it was. Yeah, so the 13.
And it's a great phone.
The regular 13 will be available.
Actually, and do you remember, Dave, that all the talk about $100 price increases across the board?
Yeah, prices not changed. All the same prices. All the same prices.
Didn't happen.
So they're still going to sell the 13, the standard 13 model, and then so people want the cheaper models up to the 12 and the SE, then they're fine. And then the 14 will start at $799. The 14 Plus will be at $899. I know that's not going to get released until October now, the Plus, for some reason, because it's a new model. I think because it needs production, because it's a new production of a new phone. 14 Pro $999, and the Pro Max will start at $1099. Pre-orders are tomorrow as we record this at 7 a.m. It's 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 a.m. Pacific Time. I've already got my pre-order in. And Warren, what color are you going with? And which I know you're going with the Max, but what color are you going to
go? I just picked the black.
Okay.
I'm not a purple person, so black 256 gig, and I'm getting.
Oh, come on, Warren, live on the edge.
I'm doing deep purple. I went with it.
Go purple.
Yeah.
No, I just put a case on anyways. Hopefully I'll find a nice.
Well, you could have an edge case.
I do have an edge case. Yeah. Edge case. The purple, I mean, it's not for me, but my wife would like that. She's into purple.
I went with the new colors the last couple of years. So the blue was this.
So you went with purple?
Yeah. I went this. Was it the deep? Is it deep purple? Is it called? I think it is.
Yeah.
So
I hope so.
Good rock band. So
it was.
Look at the Apple trade-in for. I know you're on the not for you, Dave, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, they're doing really. They've been very generous with the iPhone trade-ins. So
they're actually better than T-Mobile was too. So
yeah. So Kelly, you're going to hold off, right? You're not ready to jump.
Yeah. Well, we're waiting to see. I showed last night when Mr. Kelly got home. He said, "Okay, so what's the big deal today?" And I showed him the quick breakdown, and then showed him the SATCOM stuff, Emergency Sos, and the new Apple Watch that we're about to talk about. And he was very upset because this event might cost him a bunch of money because he could really use it. My husband's a hiker and hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, and aside from that, there are a lot of places in Oregon, where I live, where there's simply not service, or there's barely service. And I have been broken down in those places, like in a car, not a crash, but needed assistance, and had to find a way to get like 15 miles back down the road from where we were so that we could get 2 bars of service to rub together,
right,
and then be able to make the phone call in order to say, "Hi, I know you say this is my location, but I'm really 20 miles further down the road. I had to come back here in order to call and get help." And so I'm really looking forward to the Emergency SOS being something that, because it's going to make a lot of things a lot more feasible for people who drive from Portland to the Oregon coast over the Coast Range, because the Coast Range is one of the stretches where service is crap. And anytime you get a little ways away from the I-5 corridor, it can be a crapshoot what kind of cellular reception you have. And I think, like I said last night on Mac Voices, I live not far from a mountain that eats a couple hikers or skiers every year. Yep. And so, for folks who are up there and can't get service, for one reason or another, or are having a hard time getting reception, in weather or something, having something like this that makes it possible or at least more likely that someone will be able to find you, I think is going to be super, super great. And I'm glad that feature rolled out as far and wide as it did.
Yeah.
And I know, so it's possible my house will get one. It may not be Kelly.
And Guy, I know you're sticking with what you got, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Easy enough. So let's go into the Apple Watch here. I'll be real quick on the two models, and we're going to focus a little more on the Ultra since that's the new model. They announced the Watch Series 8. Notable things is the temperature sensor, which is great, and the crash detection has been added as well. So you've got a couple of those features. They're really not much of a change in the design between the Series 7 and the Series 8. I don't see a lot of compelling reasons to upgrade between the two models. I mean, the temperature sensor might be something you might want to consider. It depends. But other than that, I mean, really nothing to me stood out. Do you guys?
That's the new thing. It's sort of a 7S, like a
Yeah, so I don't.
And I'm glad for that. Like, I think the thing a lot of people are waiting for is like a blood sugar monitor in some way, to be able to do that. But a couple of people asked me about that yesterday, and my response was that whether or not Apple can turn that into a good experience, Apple being able to do it in a way that will make regulators happy is probably the part that they're having the hurdle with. So, and that's just me guessing, but if you're going to make something like that people want to be able to rely on, then it's going to need to be unbelievably accurate, and there may not be a way, they may not have cracked that nut yet. So I'm not surprised, but it's a really nice incremental upgrade. I was hoping that maybe it seems like the cool stuff that's coming in Series 8, aside from the temperature sensor, is all things that are coming in software, not in hardware.
Right.
So I'm excited to get a mini upgrade for my 7 just by installing a new version of the operating system soon. And then, I'll get some new cool stuff that way. And so I'm looking forward to that. That's one thing I like about Apple Watch is that, you kind of get an upgrade every year as long as you keep the operating system up to date. You get a little bit more new stuff and interesting stuff every time.
Yep. Anybody else want to add anything on the Series 8? I'm going to just move on to the SE. The SE was actually interesting. I mean, they really, a couple things they did add. The SE is going to feature the S8 chip. It does have the crash detection.
Big upgrade.
And it was a huge upgrade. So now the fall detection, which the SE didn't have before, is now added to that. It's a very compelling upgrade, especially for kids. Pricing is insane. It starts at $249 for the GPS version and $299 for the cellular model. So again, those are two good prices. Those are two great prices for someone who wants to get entry level watch, especially for kids. It keeps the parents happy because they don't have to spend a ton of money on the Apple Watch if they want to get one for their kids. One thing they did do is the back case is now redesigned with a new color matched nylon composite material to reduce its weight. So that makes it even more lighter. So this is a compelling upgrade, especially for those who've had the older watches and may not necessarily want all the bells and whistles of the Series 8. Guy, what do you think? This SE, this wasn't a bad thing that Apple did for this.
Yeah, it's a nice update for the SE. I'm on an older watch. I'm on a Series 5.
Yeah, which still is good. I had that watch.
Yeah, and it is still good. It's doing everything that I needed to do. So there's really nothing with the 8 that's very compelling until we talk about the next one that we're about to talk about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I also don't want to spend $800 on a new watch. So that's a problem. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think one thing, if it weren't for the next thing we're going to talk about, this would have been the headline of the Apple Watch event because it's a massive upgrade in every way on the SE side. And the price turns it into something that a lot of people like. There are going to be a whole lot of those for Christmas this year.
Absolutely. Or they're sold.
I have a list. I have
people that work out a lot. I mean, Apple has pretty much sewn the market up as far as being the watch to have for people that work out and use fitness apps and all the rest of that. So
think this also sort of kicks the door in for people who maybe don't have one or aren't necessarily people who work out, but it's nice to have an iPhone outpost on your arm.
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
I think that's handy as well. But I think not just kids. I know they were doing a whole lot of marketing for kids, but I have a whole bunch of parents and in-laws and older people in my life of a particular vintage who could really do with strapping
boomer.
something to their arm every day, who it would be nice to have somebody know that they had fallen. It would be nice if they could track, like my mom fell and broke her leg in like 6 places, was on a bike and had a bike wreck. And, and if she had that, she would have had 911 dialed before my stepdad figured out she wasn't riding behind him anymore and went back to get her. Yeah. My dad just had triple bypass surgery earlier this year, and he could be well served by having something that can help him track his physical activity and his heart rate and be able to tell him if something weird is going on. My stepdad is an older guy who sometimes is home because my mom leaves the house. And if he fell and something happened, like it would be really nice if he could get help. My in-laws are a whole other situation, and both of them could use them for various reasons.
Everybody we know, they should have them.
Like there are so many people that really, like, aside from just pick it up and say, "Hey lady, text Kelly and tell her my phone isn't working," or whatever. Like aside from that piece of it, which is one of the like there are so many side benefits from it as a health monitor and as an information gathering conduit, because then you can pull your phone out and show the doctor, like, my dad could go sit with the doctor, be like, "Hi, here's the activity that I have, and I have questions about why this is what's happening on this day," or whatever. And that part, I think, is hopefully, I think that's why a lot of stuff came to the SE, is so that a lot more people would have the opportunity to do something like that. And I'm really looking forward to, I'm not looking forward to finding out exactly the limitations of family setup, but I am looking forward to being able to get a little bit of telemetry on all of the older people in my life who could really use it. So.
Yeah. And then Warren, did you have anything to add about the SE?
Not the SE, it's a good upgrade. I went with I'm going from my 7 to the normal 8, just in case you care.
I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I figured.
Go
ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The SE, I'm glad they got rid of the old one, and I'm glad they got rid of the 3 because it was silly.
So that's good. The display is 30% larger than the 3, which is so. This is a no-brainer value of someone who's looking for some economics here. So, before we get to the Ultra, I just wanted to mention a few things here. As you said, the Series 3 is discontinued. They also discontinued the Apple Watch Edition. They also discontinued the watch magnetic charging dock. I have it. Remember the one with the puck and the thing flipped up? I know not a lot of people like that, but that's been discontinued. And then watchOS 9, they now have added a low power mode on the Apple Watch Series 4 and later. So they're going to have low power mode added on all the watches. Will now have it. So, but
that's great.
Yeah. So there's some cool, interesting announcements here. So, but let's talk about the big announcement yesterday. And we talk about the Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch is really important in the sense that at the beginning of the event, they talked about all the stories about people being saved by having an Apple Watch and calling 911. Why you should have an Apple Watch, really. But they did announce we were thinking it was going to be called the Apple Watch Pro. Well, they called it the Apple Watch Ultra, and they unveiled that. It's a pretty beautiful watch. It's big. It's got a big size. It's big. 49 millimeter. Massive size. It's a titanium case. It's got a nice bright display. They talked about, they were showing a lot of demonstrations with scuba diving, going underwater. It's rated at 130 feet. So you can scuba with this and be fine with it. You can adjust with the stem. You can adjust the brightness to turn to all red, so it's easier to see. So The bands are really cool. They've got some really cool bands for hiker bands, an Alpine Loop and an Ocean band and a Trail Loop. They're all real cool. They've got the side button lets you set different modes for workouts. Really aimed towards the hardcore hiker, but I got this feeling that people are going to be buying this watch anyway, even though you aren't a hardcore athlete or hiker, because as we just said earlier, the price point on this is, I am shocked. I thought for sure it was going to be $1,000 watch. It was $799, and it's across the board and GPS cellular. It's included for any of the model. It's one model, so I have this feeling. I think it's already out for a few weeks already, because the orders all were able to pre-order actually the day of the events, and they're going to get released.
Yeah, and I think it's October now.
Yeah, so it's going out to October. So, Guy, what was your thoughts on the on this Ultra? I think this is a pretty cool watch. I just a little out in the wheelhouse for price, I think.
Well, for people who haven't ever seen me, I am
me too.
Large man.
I'm a large man as well.
I am a very large man, and I've got big wrists. And I always kind of looked at the various Apple Watches that I've had and kind of felt like, wow, that's, it's a nice size, but boy, I sure wish it was bigger. And this kind of floats my boat as far as size goes. I would have to see one in person,
right,
to make a determination whether it would be, worth the extra expense. One thing I did notice during the presentation, and maybe it was just the way they had the animation, but it looked like the side button was a membrane button.
Yeah,
which would kind of make sense if they were trying to keep it as watertight as possible. Mm-hmm. But I just thought that looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
The bands, I for nice. Every single watch I've ever bought, I usually just take the band that it comes with and go and toss it off to the side and go to Amazon and pick one up for $20 from from whoever. And these bands look kind of cool, but I don't think I'm going to be scuba diving down to 100 meters anytime soon. And rock climbing, no, it's not really my thing. But when I'm bending over trying to get that last kernel of popcorn while I'm watching Harley Quinn on HBO Max, I mean, it would definitely keep it all together. But the one thing that really kind of enticed me with this was the larger size. I'm not really bothered that it's thicker than previous watches. But that's mostly just because of the size of batteries that they got to put in this thing to keep it running all the time.
Yeah, it's all day
especially
battery.
With always on now.
Always on, right.
All your devices are going to have expanded batteries just for that reason alone. Right. It's a nice watch. It really is. I'm looking forward to going to an Apple store and checking one out in person. And I will probably if it's available in store, buy one.
Oh, okay. That's surprising.
But I don't even want to make it a decision on it one way or the other until I get a chance to look at it.
I think it's smart.
Yeah.
Warren, what did you think of this watch, the Ultra? I know it's not something you're going to buy, but
I would almost feel like a poser putting it on. My current watch tells me to do things and I don't listen to it as it is. So I can't imagine this one shouting, telling me to climb mountains. I don't think it's going to cause me to do that.
How dare you tell me to climb mountains?
Yeah, Warren, you gotta get your badge for climbing 3 mountains today. I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to watch Stranger Things with Guy, I think.
Star Trek Lower Decks.
So, literally the only reason I would ever, me personally, get it just for the screen size because I'm going blind. So my joke is you're going to get a lot. So you're going to get 2 groups of people with this. You're going to get like real extreme sporty people who really need it,
right?
And then you're going to get grandmas at the mall trying to see who's calling them and seeing if it's their kids because they can't see the screen on the other ones. Because that's what they do. Because my mom has a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, latest model, to watch TV on. because her eyes are bad. I said, "Mom, you're spending $1,000 on something that you're using as like a second screen,
TV screen."
She's like, "I don't care. I don't care. I can't see anything else." So I would think it's funny if they if during the keynote they kind of had two people, a room full of extreme sportists and grandmas just kind of hanging out with each other. And I do appreciate the, I appreciate the theme of the show was basically extreme. Everything's extreme. Satellite communication. In the middle of nowhere, you're doing things so dangerous that you're probably going to fall and die in a place where nobody's going to find you. This is our year. So, there's probably one guy at Apple who's been begging Tim Cook to do this kind of kind of theme one year, like this probably hang glider guy. It's like, Tim, this year, come on, we'll do it. Fine, Johnny, we'll do it this year. We'll do the extreme stuff. And we'll be like,
well, he used to work there, but we miss him dearly.
Well, he'll be back because,
Will he?
No, well, they'll find him with an Apple Watch Extreme in the bottom of a lake somewhere, and
bottom of a ravine,
both the watch, and he will be alive.
That escalated.
It'll be calling
he survived it and watched him. So yeah. So anyways, not for me. I mean, I'm going to just invest with these reading glasses will probably save me $400 on the watch because
there you go.
And all the grandmas will be walking through the mall going, "What? What did you say?"
Yeah.
No, they all do the same thing with the phone. Who's calling?
They're all going to the Apple store. Do you have a vinyl slip cover for my watch?
I tried to crochet one, but I just couldn't make it big enough.
Bobby, I'm at the mall now. I can't. Hey. Bobby, I can't talk now.
So last but not least, Kelly, you'll just give us a brief what your thoughts on the Ultra's final thoughts.
I think it's going to be super useful for people who have that sort of utility. Like they said, you've got a dive computer strapped to your arm now, and that sounds amazing. And I really liked seeing all that this was some of the potential that we saw with the Apple Watch initially, and some of that is being realized, and I really like that. And so I'm hopeful. I really wasn't interested, but then they got Oscar Isaac to do the voiceover for the ad, so now I have to buy one, and I'm kind of bummed about it because it looks like such a slab on the arm of a mere mortal. Obviously, not David, not Guy, but like on a standard issue sized human. Like I want to know. Exactly. And I want to know how much the wheels are that I'm going to have to buy to drag my arm along behind me if I get one of these, because it just seems massive. I mean, I think that the little tiny Apple Watch, like I have the smallest size, and this feels massive on my arm, like when you look at it. So
supposedly it's super light is what they're saying.
Look how small this is.
So I said the Ultra feels like a dummy because it feels hollow.
And that's the bigger size.
Right.
That's the 44, I think.
Yeah. And I have, So I think for the people who are going to use it, it's going to be great. I like Warren's use case. My joke was that it's going to be the Range Rover of watches. So people are going to buy this thing that's meant to go out in the wilderness and get dirty and muddy and covered in snow and messed up and go have grand adventures. But like, I can't do that because it was really expensive and there's no way I'm ever letting dirt anywhere near it.
We'll go to brunch.
Exactly. Extreme brunch though. It'll be extreme because you have the action button.
Yeah. I'm going to use satellite to get another mimosa.
Kelly, what I picture is like two extreme people just meeting in the mall, accidentally looking each other off, and then they touch their watches together to see if they're the same big size. Dude!
And it's parkour all through JCPenney.
So if you compare the watches smaller than theirs, are like, dude.
Okay, let's. I'm gonna move on to the bat.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
Amazing. Phone? I'm really glad to see that really cool stuff is happening on the watch front, especially on a hardware perspective. I'm hoping that some of the cool things that come out of the Ultra are things that'll trickle down to the lesser models.
Let's hope. Just quick note: the bands, the 42 through 45 millimeter bands, will be compatible with this Ultra. as well as the bands that come with the Ultra. You can buy them separately, and those will work with the larger size Apple Watches. So if you wanted to buy one of those Ultra bands and put it on your 45 millimeter watch, you can do that. So you've got that option.
You prepare for the Amazon
onslaught.
Yeah. So quickly, I wanted to go into the AirPods, and they're really not the AirPods Pro. They're not really called the AirPods Pro 2. They're calling them the AirPods second generation.
Another fantastic name from Apple's marketing.
Way to go, Apple marketing.
Yeah, way to go, Apple.
Thumbs up.
So they announced
they deserve all that money.
They announced that you got the H2 chip, so it's going to be the next generation processor. It's in them. They have personalized spatial audio. There's 2x more active noise cancellation. The demo did show the gal that was there standing in front of a jackhammer, and then she had them in, and it really isolated the sound quite well.
It was extreme.
It was extreme. Yeah. Battery life was
extreme noise cancellation.
Extreme. She was as there was an explosion, and she's running.
Yeah.
No, she's walking away as it's going off behind her.
She's walking.
Yeah, it's movie magic.
And they shot the whole thing with an iPhone 14 Pro Max.
That's right. That is right. So battery life is now at 6 hours, so that's a 2-hour increase from the current the old model, up to 30 hours of standby time.
One Mac Voices.
Yeah, one Mac Voices. Yeah. 30 hours. Oh, you're funny. The case now has a built-in speaker, and Find My will finally work with it, so you can finally find the case.
Hallelujah!
Hallelujah on that one. The other great thing that they listen to the customers is now there's 4 different sizes of the cups for the AirPods, so extra small all the way up to extra large. So now you've got those choices. The touch control now is in the stem, so it's now just touch where you can navigate things as opposed to tapping and holding. It does have a lanyard loop, but I did find out today that a lanyard does not come with it. You have to get your own. So
for $29 at Apple.com.
$13 extra with Apple.
Is it really?
Yes.
Really?
$12.95. Yeah.
Okay.
That's $4.99 from unknown Chinese company on Amazon.
Yeah, there you go.
$1.99.
Yeah. Other thing I was excited about is the fact that it now can charge with the Apple Watch charger. So now you can plug your Apple Watch charger.
Can somebody explain that to me? Shouldn't it be the other way around? Because the Apple Watch charger's not like anything else.
They've changed it.
I would rather that, because my charger the Series 7 allegedly will charge with a Qi charger. I think was what they said when it came up, but I haven't found one that works yet either. Yeah, but that's going to be my pitch to Mr. Kelly is I have to get new ones because now I can use one cable to charge my watch and my
seriously, the Series 8 watch, they couldn't make it. I mean, they couldn't put a Qi thing in there to charge it, so I don't have to bring 2 chargers like that. What I really want is for if you lay it real careful on a MagSafe charger, your watch will charge. That's all that's all I want. So great. Now you could charge your AirPods with this thing that only charged this phone and that you hated using all this time. So
yeah,
that's great. Thanks.
Yeah. So,
but it'll also do regular wireless charging. So like the MagSafe puck that you have will charge them.
It charges the current one now. So so you'll have both. Yeah. So I mean, I thought just it was added bonus. A couple notable things is right now it's not supporting lossless Apple Music, which I found to be interesting. So maybe that's going to change in the software update that they did find that happened. One thing iOS 16 is actually going to protect is if you try to pair counterfeit AirPods with the iPhone, it's not going to work. They are. So we'll see where that goes. I'll keep an eye on that and talk about that.
That's sort of a bad. Isn't it like a double whammy? You bought something you didn't want. That you bought something you thought was real and they're not. But now you can't even get them to work because.
Well, they should still connect via Bluetooth.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a big enough problem for Apple to have to address.
I was surprised
that I'm like, wow, that's a thing. Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised with that too. So, so overall, is this something you would get, Kelly? Would you upgrade? Are you going to upgrade?
I'm considering it mostly for battery life, but also I'm considering it because the better noise cancellation is going to be really awesome when I mow the yard, because that's the place I use them second most often.
Yeah,
because I use them for lots of meetings and things during the day at work, and then the other like long-term activity that I generally use them for is when I mow the yard, because it's like 1.5 miles to mow my yard all the way around front and back. So it's quite a walk, and I have a special playlist for it, and the noise cancellation just makes it better when I'm out there trying to mow. So
how about you, Guy? You've got a pair of AirPods Pro. Are you going to consider upgrading them?
Yeah, I've got the first gen AirPod Pros, and I've got regular AirPods, not this generation, but the generation before. And honestly, they're fine. They do everything that I want them to do. Typically, because of the job I have, I can't have a lot of wireless stuff. So the only time I really get to use them is when I'm showing Dave my next ridiculous mobile
microphone.
Well, my next ridiculous
mobile grig,
which takes up a backpack the size of New Jersey, or when I'm doing podcasts here at the house. Other than that, I'm not even really typically using wireless earbuds, because other than that, I'm in the car and I'm using CarPlay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. How about you, Warren? Were you going to buy a pair?
No, I mean, they were talking before the event.
Grow a pair. Sorry.
Gotcha. They were talking before the event that it might have some kind of better switching between devices thing going, and they didn't talk about that. And that would be the only reason I would get it, because that's the only thing that drives me crazy, is that it tries to connect to things just when I look at it side-eyed, and I don't like that. So I thought maybe they would fix that. Maybe this Bluetooth LE will, sort of, but they didn't talk about it. So I don't know.
Something to explore.
Yeah. Other than that, I have no there's nothing compelling that it does compared to the ones I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to probably jump and grab them, because I like the fact of the case. And by the way, you can get an emoji engraved on the case if you so choose. So you can,
of course you can.
So it's so important.
Usually I don't engrave
so the AirPods line. So they just announced, actually today as we record this, that a second generation, I think it's a second generation of the AirPods, the bottom line. That one's at $129. You got the AirPods 3 for $169, the 3 with the MagSafe case at $179. The AirPods Pro, the second generation, they'll be at $249, and of course they'll keep the AirPods Max headset for $549. So they still have they're very popular. They're still going to continue to be going with that, and I think it's going to be it's definitely interesting to see where all these products go. Pre-order for the iPhone, as we record this, by the time you hear this, it'll already probably be past. The iPhone goes pre-order tomorrow morning as we record to at like I mentioned earlier, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Same thing with the AirPods. The Apple Watch models were available at release. You could start placing orders already, and I believe they're shipping on September 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. And I know a lot of the watches are
every Friday. This Friday, a bunch of stuff goes on pre-order, and then after that, for like 3 or 4 Fridays in a row, a new thing actually starts showing up for people.
Absolutely.
I just don't remember what order they're in, but it was something like that.
But we'll have plenty of things to talk about in the next couple episodes with all that other stuff that's being released. We'll hear more about it. Again, this was only a day after the event, and you're always hearing about new things that was not announced during Apple's event, which is usually typical. So you can count on us to get you that information. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can also become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming, which usually is at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. You also can go to our In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the articles are and topics we discussed are flipped into that magazine. And boy, I'm gonna have a lot of links to throw in there this week. So there was a lot to talk about. So check that out. That link is in the show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Remir, Pocket Cast, Overcast, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Kelly Guimont, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you? We appreciate you being here.
I'm always so happy to have that you keep inviting me back. Regardless of what happens. I feel like today's big headline is that Warren showed up. You must not have told him I was coming.
I feel like I haven't seen you in like months.
You haven't. I don't think you had. So
I was wondering if you were still here.
I generally can be found on Twitter as Verso. You can also find me some Tuesday nights over on Mac Voices Live with Chuck Joyner. And the rest of the time, for the most part, you can find me over at The Incomparable on both Greetings from the Uncanny Valley, a show I do with Don Melton about Westworld, and I Want My MCU TV, where we talk about the latest show on Disney Plus. And I do that with also Don Melton and Lisa Schmeiser and Nathan Alderman, and we have so much fun doing it, and you should go check it out. And the rest of the time, when David sees fit to have me back, you can find me here.
Awesome. Thanks again. Guy Serle, happy birthday. It's your birthday coming up tomorrow as we record this. And,
happy birthday!
And
I'm going to be 26.
Yeah, I thought so. Thank you for being here. Always appreciate you being here. And tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me doing the mymac.com podcast with Gazmaz almost every single week ever since, oh my God, 2009. 2009, my God. You can contact me via email, podcast@vertshark.com, or guy@mymac.com. I am Mac Parrot and VertShark over on the Twitters. The website is vertshark.com. I am VertShark over on YouTube, where you can see all of the vids, and then you can like, share, subscribe. Did you see it the first time? There's 3 right there. We have a Skype telephone number, which is 1 or +1 outside the United States. Area code 703-436-9501. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again. And Warren Sklar, last but certainly not least, where can people find you?
Like Kelly said, you'll never know. So, could be there one
No,
day.
I said that.
Did you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Like I said, you'll never know. But other than that, I'll hopefully try to. I'll be around next week. Should be good.
All right.
For both shows.
Great. Thanks for being here. And shout out to a couple people in the chat for this week in our chat room, which is, again is at youtube.com/intouchwithios. John, thank you for being here. And Pat, thanks for your comments this week. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate everybody coming here to listen to this show and watch our show. Really appreciate it. A lot of fun doing it. And we'll talk again soon.